Cynthia from Cary, first question. What's one of the most common misunderstandings that people have about keto or the ketogenic diet? That's a really good question. I think there are a lot of misunderstandings about a ketogenic diet. Yeah. So probably one of the most common misunderstandings, I don't know, maybe that it has to be one specific thing. Like it has to be Atkins and you have to eat certain bars or eat candies or for me, I think a lot of people try to fit themselves into the keto box, and there's not really a keto box. There's not one way to do a ketogenic diet. Ketogenic diet is simply eating few enough carbohydrates so that your body burns fat in the form of ketones instead of burns glucose. It's fairly simple.
Bring the hammer down. That is awesome.
It's fairly simple, and yet it gets very convoluted, complicated, complex. It doesn't need to. It's eating fewer carbohydrates. That doesn't mean you have to eat tons and tons and tons of saturated fat, or that you have to be a carnivorous person. You could do a vegan keto, you could do vegetarian keto, you could do Mediterranean keto, you could do a paleo keto, right? It's just the ketogenic umbrella is very low carbohydrate to burn fat.
That's it. You'll see all sorts of things that say, well, you got to eat this amount of fat, this amount of protein.
Right.
To me, that's kind of like binding people up, getting them just in this tiny little thing where they can't look left or right. You know, the issue is the carbohydrate restriction.
Absolutely.
And that's what generates the ketones, hence the word keto. And anyway, there's a lot of financial interest in selling various things under this is the way you do it, right?
You need to take exogenous ketones.
That's right.
Because you can buy those. You need to take this supplement because you can make money off of those as a business. But you don't need any of that stuff.
That's right.
You really don't.
That's exactly right. So the core issue, and particularly for most Americans, is that we need to be eating less carbohydrates.
Yes. Particularly processed and ultra processed carbohydrate. In a ketogenic diet's case.
Yeah, we don't typically get mad at you if you're eating 3 buckets of lettuce a day.
Right.
It's really, although
vegetables
that's carbohydrate.
Berries are carbohydrates.
Yeah, that kind of stuff really isn't what's making people gain weight and making them unhealthy. It's the processed carbohydrates.
Absolutely, yeah. And keep in mind, we do teach ketogenic diets here at Dr. Simonds Metabolics Weight Loss, and many of our patients do choose to do it. It is not a requirement to be a patient in our practice.
We'll work with you doing any kind of diet.
Yeah, for anyone. Yeah, we will work with you, meet you where you are. It has to be individualized. We do have patients that come and say, I tried it. I don't know if I did it right. I'd like to try it again. Other people say, I don't really want to do it. My family life, my social life just would make it hard in a way that I don't want to. And we will absolutely still be there to help and guide you and try different things.
Yes, we have a question.
Holly
wants to know our thoughts on the carnivore diet. Yes. Yes, it's very good.
It has its place for sure. So a carnivore diet is essentially where you eat only and exclusively animal products. Now, again, there are some variations of a carnivore diet where some individuals may include small amounts of plant foods or fibers, but for the most part, the umbrella of a carnivore diet is you eat animals and products that come from animals, period. So if you have, a bunch of eggs in the morning, you're not putting in a bunch of spinach and tomato. You're just eating eggs cooked in butter, and then you have meat basically for lunch and meat for dinner. Organ meats are often included in a well-formulated carnivore diet because that's where you get a lot of nutrients. A lot of people think, oh, won't you be malnourished if you don't eat vegetables? Actually, animals that we eat, like cattle and pig and chicken, have nutrients in every organ of their body. And if we ate all of them, we would really not be devoid of a single nutrient.
That's right. Yes. This makes a good point and ties into a question that we have from Morgan. I can get passionate and angry sometimes about things. And one of the things that really drives me bananas are people who are seemingly qualified. Okay, they go to nice universities, they do all this stuff, and they will appear on documentaries and stuff and bastardize their scientific background. Okay, they get bought off by various interests. They have religious beliefs of some kind, of zealotry, if you will, not necessarily grounded in spiritual things. They religiously believe some concept. Okay, and so it really doesn't. They don't have to do with spiritual things. When I say religious, it's like a religious fervor. And they let that cloud their judgment. And I saw some of this again over the weekend on a Netflix documentary. Okay. And they package it up real nice. And they, and if you were to watch that, it's straight out deceit and lies. And I could pick it apart in a second. They never bring on the other side. And this, you have to be very careful about this, because this stuff is out there, and the general idea is that eating meat is bad. It's a polar opposite of what you said, that no human beings ever need this stuff. And they never bring on the experts from the other side, and they ignore great swaths of scientific information that are there. And they ignore the clinical experience of persons like Michelle and I, who get rid of people's diabetes, who get rid of people's high blood pressure, who get rid of their lipid problems by having them go on diets like this. Okay. And the stuff they're suggesting would actually worsen those conditions. And they sit right there and misrepresent it over and over again and use emotional pleas to the public. And they're I tell you, when we get to Morgan's questions, I'll comment some more. The way they package the stuff, they package it so that you have to accept it or you're a bad person.
Right.
And
it's a morality thing.
Yes, that's right. So look, there are ways to ethically raise and process animals, and it's done, right? And so when we treat a disease called obesity, and it is an inflammatory, a systemic inflammatory problem, and these sorts of diets will fix that disease. And that's our experience. And so if you decide for reasons like, hey, I don't want to eat animals because I don't believe in killing animals and stuff like that, I understand that. And I'll never say anything ugly about that to you. There are ways, as Michelle pointed out, that you can actually, eat unprocessed things that are natural, and you will experience these same sort of benefits, right?
Absolutely.
So if you really ate what comes from the garden and it was unprocessed, guess what? You're going to get healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't have to be a ketogenic diet. It doesn't have to be a vegan diet. And I think if we could focus more on what we agree about in these different communities versus what separates us, we'd all want people to eat unprocessed, whole, natural foods and less of processed junk, whether it is all animals, all plants, or some combination of the two.
Yeah, that is exactly right. That is exactly right. And that's the common middle ground I think we can all reach and keep everybody happy.
Absolutely.